Let's get started since we're a couple minutes behind. But let me introduce myself. My name is Cindy Savage. I am Director of Events at Vroozi, and we're really excited today about today's webinar's topic, which is what is the difference between agentic AI and agent AI and why it matters for procurement. And we are really fortunate to have our very own founder and CEO of Vroozi lead this discussion today. Shaz Khan, and he's got over 25 years of experience in the industry, and we're really excited to hear from him. And he's actually in the AI capital of the world today in San Francisco. And so, Shaz, I'll let you take it away and share all of the knowledge you know.
Thank you, Cindy. We're really excited about this topic today with what's the difference between agentic AI and agent AI. As a matter of housekeeping, we are going to send this presentation to participants. We will also have Q&A. Cindy will be moderating that, so please use the chat features within the webinar for any questions that we can take at the end.
Oh, very
If we
good.
can move to the
Sorry.
next slide. Yeah. So a little bit about Vroozi. We're headquartered in Playa Vista, California, right within Los Angeles. Our mission is to digitize processes to enable an intelligent business marketplace. And we span the entire procure-to-pay cycle. So we empower buyers and suppliers, have a number of different supplier relationships across the globe that we look to digitize across the board. So electronic data transmission between your organization, finding the right products and services, and then digitizing that relationship across the way. And it's a no-code self-service platform where you can achieve all these capabilities with an underlying thread of intelligence that sits on top of the platform. And we have customers from all over the world. We're in 20 different countries today and expanding. And very fortunate to have amazing partners in various industries that continue to push and innovate and test limits as to what is the art of the possible in procure-to-pay. So I thought I'd begin a little bit like we always do with a cartoon that sets the tone, if you will, for um, the discussion today. And so here you have an individual that's in a therapy session, and she's obviously worried about her job. And then, of course, the psychologist or psychotherapist is a robot. And I think that this is a very uh, salient point in today's market. Oftentimes, we think of AI as taking over jobs and responsibilities. And while AI can serve as a power tool to do just that, I think the jobs and fact that there could be risk of job replacement, I look at AI as more of an augmentation tool as opposed to a complete replacement tool, and I'll explain that further. So let's begin. We want to set the framework around agent AI and agentic AI. And first and foremost, our purpose is to truly explain these concepts in the market and then see how these concepts apply in today's overall enterprise. Okay. So what is an AI agent? An AI agent requires human interaction and specific instructions to accomplish a task or deliver an outcome. And what that means is they're virtual agents, assistants that are designed to perform simple, repetitive tasks with clearly defined parameters. And you have then the output based on pre-programmed rules that you set as a human being. And there are many, many examples of AI agents today. We see AI agents in customer support with chatbots, which can answer questions, resolve issues, guide customers through processes, all without human intervention. Perhaps one of the daily AI agents that we use, and we might not think of it as an AI agent, is a voice assistant. So leveraging Siri or Google to set calendar reminders, check the weather, execute a specific function. Table stakes for AI today, especially with individuals that get a flood of emails, are AI-based tools that are pre-embedded now within dominant platforms like Microsoft and Google, which can organize, sort, flag, prioritize your emails so that you can be responding to the emails with priority, urgency, and also with content. And then finally, productivity tools. Hundreds of productivity tools out in the market today. But some of the more popular ones that we've seen are agents that are actually helping to draft first lines of code to accelerate software development. You could even extend that to screenwriting, scripts, content writing, and marketing. These are productivity boosters that give companies a head start. And now, how do AI agents work? And without getting into all the technical ramifications of an AI agent, AI agents will leverage advanced machine learning algorithms, neural networks to analyze incredible amounts of data, but then really take that data analysis, identify patterns, and connect those patterns to make decisions or predictions without explicit human programming. Now, you're going to need to work on what we call training. It's not just you just turn on an AI agent and it starts working, right? So if we look at the actual framework behind an AI agent, which we can go to the next slide, we're going to look at this now at a deeper level, right? So we're going to collect the data, which is basically allowing data to be gathered from user inputs, databases, commands, sensors. We're going to then train that agent. So once we actually collect the data, the AI agent can undergo basically training and go through their pattern analysis and relationships between different data points. And this training can be done through many different forms: supervised learning, unsupervised learning, reinforcement learning. An example of supervised learning could be identifying spam email that comes into your inbox and flagging detection and detecting those types of anomalies in the actual data set. And then the most important area is the deep learning, leveraging these neural networks with algorithms to recognize relationships, pattern match, process these items that mimics the human brain, not replaces, mimics. And then finally, making decisions to execute the task. So when we look at an AI agent, it is incredibly important to understand that these are uh, productivity boosters and tools, but you will need frameworks to develop these agents such that they actually are employed correctively within the actual environment that you work in. Now, let's take a look at agentic AI. Agentic AI is a power tool that really allows you, if we can go to the next slide, Cindy, to really independently interact in a dynamic environment. So these are self-learning capabilities which you can orchestrate different processes and then react in real time and adapt to the changing circumstances without needing constant direction. So we look at agentic AI as an autonomous process orchestrator and conductor. One of the key areas of an agentic AI process or system is an agentic AI can be a bunch of AI agents that can be strung together, and we're going to demonstrate that in an example downstream here. And where do we see agentic AI in action? I'm in San Francisco today, and I'm flooded on the streets with self-driving and operated vehicles that can actually navigate traffic landscapes and driving conditions in real time. They can use sensors and cameras to basically adjust, speed up, slow down, see if there's any kind of objects that they're going to collide with. These are incredibly uh, inventions now that are actually looking at, from a human being standpoint, do I actually need to own 3 or 4 cars, or can I go in and optimize my routes by just jumping into an autonomous vehicle and not having to worry about a lease payment or a car payment? These are real discussions that are happening today. Warehouse management, perhaps no greater warehouse management optimization than what we see with robots that can adjust to changing conditions, move, pick, pack, ship items autonomously. And then healthcare, leveraging neural networks to basically look at history of treatments, procedures, techniques, and then improving patient care and outcomes through these processes. So now you have the opportunity in real time to feed data into a healthcare network or system, learn about treatment techniques that might be effective, and then treat the patients accordingly. And then finally, cybersecurity. Can we constantly detect patterns? Vroozi is a company, just like many tech companies, that go through cybersecurity training. But as any technology company or website, we are under the assumption that we are being attacked daily by the minute. And so, how do you employ agentic AI to make recommendations, take actions to combat and resolve security breaches? So, I've set the table now for AI agents and agentic AI. And notice I haven't talked anything about procurement yet. We're now going to get into that and see a process in action with procurement and payables. At agentic AI, at a deeper level, you're collecting data, perceiving the environment, you're reasoning, processing the information, making decisions, performing the tasks, and always learning and improving. Perhaps the single most important differentiator when you explain agentic AI and agent AI to your constituents, your stakeholders, your board, agentic AI is an autonomous process. You are trusting the algorithms and models that you are building to execute tasks with very little human interaction, if not any. And that is the key differentiator between agentic AI and AI agents. Simple, competitive, repetitive tasks that can be solved quickly. That's where an agent can become very valuable. Agentic AI is going to really take those complex processes, orchestrate those processes on your behalf, using reasoning and deduction to make decisions through vast amounts of data. Okay? So let's move to the AI use cases in procurement. And on the next slide, we'll show really a invoice processing flow. So today, this could be a process that you see today within an organization. You receive a paper invoice. You're going to scan that invoice. You're going to then take that scanned copy and you're going to manually type in that data. This could be data entry done by your AP department. It could be outsourced to a BPO, but it's manual data entry. And then you're actually matching the invoices to potential purchase orders or contracts, or there might not be a PO at all, but you're doing that manual checking, looking at if you're being overbilled or not through a series of complicated reports. Then you're going to forward that invoice on for approval and payment. That process, just in terms of time to process one invoice, can take 1.5 hours. That's incredibly long for one invoice. And it's typically, you can have a parallel process where you can have, you know, tens or hundreds of AP processors processing one, two invoices. But if you look at that cycle time, the bandwidth that you need to take that data and process it it's really, really long and it's very costly. And most companies will not really take the time to measure this process end to end. Now, let's take a look at the next capability where we add a little bit of automation using agents. So we can have a cognitive OCR agent that can intelligently identify, extract, and read the data on the invoice. OCR is not just about the actual copying of data from a structured document or unstructured document onto a screen. It's about interpreting the extracted results, whether it's handwritten notes or reading that there's a PO number or a purchase order typed out, uh, being able to actually intelligently extract that data. Then we can take it a step further on the verification process where we want to have a coding and matching agent. This can actually propose based on learnings with your own chart of accounts and financials that these types of invoices should be coded correctly to these GLs. Then finally, you have a smart exception handling agent. Again, you're leveraging an AI agent to do some of the complex data processing and identification, but you are always in the loop as an individual to basically approve these types of documents on your own accord. And you can now take that process where you're taking an invoice, which would typically take 1.5 hours in all these steps. You can run through this whole process with these agents in minutes. Okay, so now you have AI agents. Now let's take it one step further. with an agentic AI process with 100% autonomous orchestration. Notice here now we have a feedback loop on the bottom, where not only can we identify the invoice for matching duplicate checks, fraud detection, but we can also take corrective actions and collaborate with the supplier in real time to propose recommendations in case of an exception, a dispute, so that we can improve cycle time and straight through processing. Now, are we saying today that we want to take an accounts payable process and make it 100% autonomous? I wouldn't recommend that right now. I think that we need to start looking at what happens from a transparency and accountability standpoint if there are errors, if we do overpay, or if we are getting into a situation where there is fraud detected, but it's actually not fraud. You could, you know, build a supplier relationship up, but also tear it down by giving false data or false inputs back to the supplier. However, can you identify areas where you can combine agentic AI and AI agents to really optimize the process and really improve straight through processing without any human touch? And the answer is absolutely yes. This should be a goal that procurement, finance, IT departments look at. How do I leverage a combination of AI agents and agentic AI processes to enable really great outcomes? And the key is find ways which you're comfortable and detect ways where you're comfortable, where you can go through an autonomous process on an agentic AI situation where you trust that your algorithm is going in to do the right thing. Okay. So now you've taken something that took hours down to minutes. And now with a combination of agentic AI and AI agents, you're doing this in seconds. Truly trailblazing. And imagine a system that's always on. While you're sleeping, these invoices might be getting processed and then sending you information from an exception management standpoint to resolve with the right corrective courses of action. So let's dig in deeper. We've just talked about an identification of further of AI use cases in invoice processing. Let's take 6 more areas where AI, agentic AI, and agents can be really valuable. So we have sourcing. Well, companies today are leveraging AI agents, which can propose, identify, discover sources of supply based on specifications, requirements, lead time, and demand. You don't have to have human relationships anymore to build and identify suppliers that you want to do work with. The identification aspect can be handled through an AI agent based on limited prompts that you enter into a screen that can then return a list of legitimate suppliers that you can interact with and do business with. That's where an AI agent can come into play in sourcing. Now let's take a step up on that process. Agentic AI process that can actually execute sourcing events autonomously with a pre-selected vetted group of suppliers based on your input and demand. So constantly now looking at, well, I have a demand for X widgets. I need to go identify those suppliers. Let me have an agentic AI process that actually identifies the sourcing, but then also conducts the sourcing events in real time through automation and doing it autonomously. Okay. Vendor management. Let's take an AI agent which can prompt vendors based on expiration dates to update certificates of insurance or identify in the market that cybersecurity insurance now is a major policy that needs to be provided and proactively reach out to the supplier to understand if they have a cybersecurity policy in place. This is very important because you need to have that protection if you're going to be engaging with the technology vendor. Let's take a step up on vendor management on board. Agentic AI process that can grade suppliers based on supplier metrics, performance, delivery, cost, flag vendors that are below your compliance threshold, and then suggest corrective actions for the vendor to go above that threshold. So now this is proactive monitoring of your supply chain, your vendors, and reaching out to them to help correct actions which you might deem risky. This is where agentic AI can be really powerful. Tail spend. AI agent that can review and analyze your long tail suppliers, which are your 80% of supply base that make up 20% of your company spend, and then look at your categories, propose areas for consolidation and cost savings. So you're feeding this AI agent data, right, from your own system. And then that AI agent, based on not only the data you're feeding it, but also plugging in APIs into external databases, can then say, well, look, based on these suppliers, you're buying linens from 20 different suppliers. You have an opportunity to consolidate and save up to 10% by going to two vendors instead of 20. Okay. Now let's look at a step up agentic AI, which can monitor high volume suppliers, then identify the opportunities for consolidation, manage risk profiles, pinpoint alternate source supply, factoring in economic trends or policies and global disruptions, and then proactively suggest changes to your supply chain and supplier base. That's where agentic AI can really monitor and help on the tail spend side. On the next slide, we have purchasing. So this is an amazing opportunity, right? Where you can have AI agents that can provide a chat interface, as an example, while you're in app to order products and suggest items based on pricing and preference. The whole area of hyper personalization, looking at your job, your role, your persona within an organization, identifying the tools that you need to do your job, those become competitive advantages. And we can take a step up. Let's say that you have a new employee coming in. You can have a fully orchestrated agentic AI process that can identify the new employee by integrating with your HR systems, onboard that employee, but then initiate a procurement process to provide all of the tools for that employee so that they can have their laptop, their water bottle, their docking station, whatever is required to do their job on day one, right? And all of that's initiated based on a small prompt that a new employee has been onboarded, right? Finance and payables, excellent, excellent area for automation. As we just demonstrated, AI agents which can extract data from an invoice, interpret the data in multiple languages, populate that data for further processing. How about a step up where you have an agentic AI process that can identify all kinds of anomalies within invoices, duplicates, proactively engage with the supplier to resolve those invoice exceptions, and then proceed with payment? Game changers. People think that, well, it sounds really complicated. Well, there are great tools like Vroozi that are actually embedding these capabilities in app so that you don't have to take a second guess of, well, how do I start my journey with agentic AI? There are many platforms that you can build your own AI agents on top, but you can also leverage in-app tool sets that are pre-embedded with AI tools. And that can become really great as you hyper verticalize your operations and are looking for accelerators in those specific industries. And then inventory management. This is a major area, especially in manufacturing, especially with what's happening today with some of the economic activity around tariffs, around weather patterns, around supply chain disruptions with pandemics. An AI agent that can review inventory levels, seasonality, demand, and then recommend courses of action for inventory replenishment. But let's flip that on its head. How about an agentic AI system that's constantly monitoring proactively your inventory levels to manage and maintain optimal settings and levels, making adjustments in your inventory with replenishment demands and potential orders up front, let's say hedging, based on a perceived economic externality. We know gas might be going up over the next, let's say, 30 days. I want to hedge on that and buy gas up front. And now you can remove that whole issue of stockouts and expedited shipping costs, which are a killer for companies, especially when you're talking about just-in-time manufacturing. You do not want to pay those aggressive shipping costs up front, especially on the inventory side. Okay. So agentic AI versus agent AI, this is a really helpful table, especially for our organization at really identifying what are the key differences. And again, when you think about agentic AI and AI agents, agentic AI, it all comes down to autonomy. Agentic AI systems are highly autonomous. They can act independently, reason, deduct, make changes based on the environment and based on the reinforcement learning that's put in. Whereas an AI agent is limited autonomy, it requires human input for outcomes and goals. Your learning capabilities, continuous learning and improvement. Imagine putting an agentic AI process as the system is used, as the process is run through an agentic AI system, you will constantly get better, right? Based on the learnings. AI agent, that is an option. You might have reinforcement learning, but it's not a requirement. And then goal driving, you're solving problems on its own in an agentic AI framework. Task specific follows in an AI agent. You're following specific sets of instructions and rule sets. through, let's say, a chat interface to get the outcomes that you're looking for. And then complexity, handling complex, ever-changing environments, AI agents, simple, repetitive, structured tasks. And then finally, decision-making process. This is the holy grail, right? How are you allowing these systems to make these decisions? What kind of input variables are being used to plug into that decision-making framework? And how autonomous are you going to allow your systems to be, right? And that's where that blend comes into play. So finally, our key takeaways. Educate yourself on AI terminology and frameworks. There is so much information out in the market today, but it is overwhelming. It is overwhelming for me. There are constant changes in the market. There are constant new buzzwords showing up. But at the core, invest in training on agentic AI, AI agents, work with really, really good professionals to truly understand, hey, can you show me an AI agent in action? Can you visualize a process workflow that I can see this stuff in action and then form innovation teams within your organization to tackle these issues, right? Invest in data quality. This is a absolute key, but you need structured, clean data as well as great data sources to build your inference models and machine learning algorithms to take advantage of these AI processes. Now, I will say that many companies shy away from this because it's a very difficult task to do. Going through a supplier vendor data cleansing activity is not the most glamorous activity within an organization. Going through a material group reclassification and procurement might not be very glamorous or fun to do, but at least start the journey. You don't have to strive for perfection, but work on standards and see what you can do to get that data cleaned up as best as possible. Focusing on governance and security, this is huge. This is a ever-growing, changing area with new laws, policies that are coming into effect. You need to have really great counsel that can explain these types of items on governance, security, as well as your own IT compliance departments that are focused on these types of capabilities and also putting these policies in place as we speak. So you need to be totally integrated into this process on governance and security. Start with clear processes, understand structured work, the workflows that you want to automate, but have these procedures well documented. If you don't have the procedures documented, you don't know the outcomes that you would like to achieve. So definitely document those and then invest in tools. A lot of tools out in the market. It's a major topic. You'll see commercials today where you can say, hey, build your own AI agents in a couple of weeks. Deploy those AI agents. The reality is, yeah, you can do that, but you have to be ready. You have to be ready to invest with people to do that type of work. And you also have to look at specialty software platforms for these businesses where you can actually verticalize and have the right solution. Find the right mix of these tool sets within your organization and don't be afraid to fail, right? Run trials, run tests, see what works. But I guarantee you that the outcomes that we are seeing as an organization in terms of just pure data processing speed, it's a remarkable shift and change. Okay. So we have obviously a number of different fans. Our customers are our lifeblood. We consistently get great feedback from our customers on how to change the game, on how to innovate, on how to speed up and use our platform for uh, faster order processing, all the way down to inventory management and paying the invoices at speed. These are incredible areas right now that are continuing to grow within our company. And we hope that today's webinar was informative. Again, we will provide the actual presentation. And if you have any questions, please feel free to send those to us as we end the webinar. So I'll pass it over back to Cindy. Cindy, if there's any questions, happy to take those questions.
Yeah, sure. We did have a question come in. What would you recommend for companies who want to start their AI journey? I know you kind of spoke about it on the takeaways, but if you wanted to dive a
Yeah.
little bit deeper into that.
Yeah, I think, the start of AI journey is get people in a room, identify some really key problems that you're having in your company today, and identify what are those areas that we would like to automate. Take AI out of the equation first, actually, in terms of the AI journey, and just focus on the pain points, and then look at ways in which technology can help improve those pain points. So really focus on the process, and then apply the tool sets that you feel would be beneficial. Okay.
Great. There was another one in here too. What do you see as the future of AI and procurement, and how is Vroozi positioning itself to lead that evolution?
Well, that's a great question. I would
That's
say
good.
that we are Vroozi itself, we are looking at AI for purpose. And so when you look at table stakes for AI, when you talk about the procurement and payables process, the first area that we really want to hit a home run on is intelligent document processing. So that is all the data that comes in that you can analyze, where you can create a event, whether it's a purchase order or process an invoice in a few seconds. Being able to take that data, whether it's structured or unstructured, extract that data, learn from that data, and then process it with as minimal human intervention as possible. That's the first area that Vroozi is really focusing on, and focusing on doing extremely well. The second area is hyper-personalization. Areas where we can identify users, identify patterns, and be able to actually propose items for companies and how they buy products and services. This could be factors of price, this could be factors of preference, this could be new products, this could be end of life. Hey, look, if you're buying a new laptop right now, you're probably better served to do it now because we know prices are going to go up in the next 6 months. So that level of hyper-personalization in the purchasing process, as well as ingest modes in how companies actually prompt users to request products and services, those are areas that are really, really fun to explore the art of the possible as it relates to order management.
Great, thank you. That was a whole nother thing on itself. I'm sure we can do a webinar on that too. Well, it looks like that's all we had as far as questions. If there's anyone else, please feel free. Here, the last slide has all of our information and how to contact us. So again, thank you so much for spending your afternoon, morning, and evening with us, and see y'all later.
Thank you.
Thanks.